The story begins: two friends exit the school grounds. Military vehicles with students aboard pass by their school. The girls started screaming. One of them got jealous, until he noticed the logo of Warrior High. Sometimes in the past, the events that occurred came without a single warning. Later on, science proved that there was a planet similar to Earth across the galaxy. On that planet, an event occurred that tore the planet to pieces. As a result, remnants of the planet started flying towards Earth. Parts of our planet began to fuse with theirs. This was known as the adhesion phenomena. Unusual laws of nature and variety of monsters were introduced to Earth. 17% of the Earth was affected, and humans lost control of the land. Danger zones, which was eventually called dungeons. They weren't given any time to prepare for these monsters, and humans as a species didn't have the ability to do anything. However, disaster wasn't the only thing received from the other world. The natural limits humans were born with, the limitation of humans caused by the natural law of Earth, were completely shattered. This phenomenon affected all humans and Earth. The awakened abilities were different for everyone. The chosen few who utilized their newfound ability decided to train to regain control over the dungeons. Special agents who worked for this goal were referred to as adventurers. That is how the era of dungeon and adventures began. The entire world praised their strength. Not long afterwards, organizations were created focusing on the training of adventurers throughout the world. The best training facility in the Republic of Korea, which has produced the best adventures for 25 years, was called Warrior High. The two are having a discussion, when they're interrupted by screaming fangirls praising a mixed-blood elf for his good looks. His name is Dee of Choi. He's a genius. His father is a famous adventurer and his mother is an elf. The guy gets angry. His friend tells him he's no better for getting angry. He gets angry at him, but his friend ignores him and calls out to the protagonist Yoo Jae-ryong. He asked if he's working. He tells him that Yoonji went for a karaoke. His friend says he works even after exams finish, but he has to do it because he doesn't have a choice. His friend hits him in the gut and he fell to the ground. Jae-ryong leaves. The reason he does so much work is because of his sick grandfather. The bills are piling up. The elf notices of Jae-ryong and thinks it's just his imagination. He enters an old subway, and we see Jae-won, 37-year-old broker, and his client. His client became furious. He asks for his best worker, but after seeing Jae-ryong, he believes he was being scammed. He tells him to get rid of the kid, or else he'll make them regret it. Jae-ryong insults the muscular man, saying he must be an adventurer, that's why he's looking stupid behind the old man. His name is Lee Pilgyu, former silver rank adventurer. He says there's no need for a conversation. Broken leg and arm will teach them a lesson. The old man says he should get on his knees and beg. It's too bad that Jae-ryong doesn't know how to beg. Dungeon smuggling. Everyday adventurers explore dungeons. When they're successful in conquering the dungeons, they are able to obtain treasures. However, before they leave, the treasures must be handed over for inspection. This is because many of them have incredible strength. If they circulated, it would put lives at risk. That's why the Adventurer Association must first inspect and register the treasure. Levy taxes are taken according to worth. However, there are individuals that don't want to pay these taxes, that entice other adventurers, and pocket treasure. If these people aren't caught, society as a whole will be destroyed. So if you see these bad guys, report them immediately. The old man asked if he's going to let them fight. He has a terrible temper, and the reason for his retirement was assaulting teammates, so he won't go easy on a kid. They'll most likely have a corpse soon. Jae-ryong says attacking a teammate is a crime, although he's not in a position to talk. Lee says the guy was pathetic and was dragging him down. He simply disposed of trash. Jae-ryong starts laughing, saying he's aware that he's trash. He swings a punch at his face. To his shock, Jae-ryong had dodged. He tries to punch him again, but Jae-ryong counters with a light kick that disturbs his coordination, making him dizzy. Jae-ryong says he thought he would be tougher. Lee Pilgyu was at a loss. He thought of the kid as a mere child. However, his reflexes, the force behind the kick, was on the level of a pro. IM says that Lee has realized that he's outclassed. The old guy says it was a single kick and that he used to be. IM interrupts and says a tanker. After the adhesion, people started to receive ability that exceeded their limitations. However, everyone would have different build and talent, and Waken-laden abilities. Adventurers undertook training that matched their abilities, and assigned roles. One of them is known as a tank, a position in which they face monsters head-on. Their trained bodies are invulnerable to bullets and top-tier tanks. They can even withstand the impact of missiles. He tried to squash him, but he dodges. The intense force destroys the ground and pushes the old man back. His strength is incredible. Jerryong can only dodge. Lee tries to bait him to attack, but he's not stupid enough to fall for that trap. If he was to be hit, every bone in his body would be pulverized. After IM analyzed the situation, he told Jerryong to finish him, or else he'll receive a pay reduction. Lee says his boss doesn't seem to grasp the situation. On his cheap tricks won't be able to pierce his technique. He picks up an iron pipe. Lee charges at full force. Because of a tanker's overwhelming durability, they believe them to be unbeatable. However, they have a natural enemy, an entity that can focus a powerful destructive force at a single point. For example, a damage dealer that is far more skilled than them would have no issue destroying their protective barrier. Lee asks where he learned his skill. Jerryong says he doesn't know what he's talking about, but he wonders if he has seen his father before. When he was young, his father was the greatest adventurer to him. It wasn't because he was his father. His name is Yu Seong. He was one of the first generation of adventurers. People who haven't experienced the history of the first generation think of it as a legend, but to them it was hell. There was too little information, monsters that are now easy to defeat or an unknown calamity. It was a time when there wasn't any skills to fight the monsters, nor items which are now common. They went to trial and error, risking their lives. The survivor passed on experience and information to the next generation, and were established as heroes. Yu Seong Dragon Slayer, a nickname to the first person to ever hunt down a dragon on Asia's top-ranking adventure. That was his father, who he respected and revered. He believed him to be invincible. During his exploration, his father had come across a deadly poison. His father tried to overcome it, but after decades of overworking his body, it had finally reached its limit. The colleagues that he trusted his life with took his fortune and work. He suffered mentally and physically. Years later, the world began to forget him. He lost his identity as a hero. The old guy was surprised that he lost. IM says he wasn't a good adventurer. The signs that he was weak was clear as day. There are two reasons a good adventurer retire. Either he can fight no longer, or he has died during exploration. The pay for the job was doubled. The old guy was mad, but with a scary face. IM says he was the one to provoke them first. He averts his gaze and says he understands. IM asked Jerryong if he knows about the Imperial Wasp. He spits out the water he was drinking, and says, "Do we have to fight that? It is quite extreme." An Imperial Wasp is a monster whose level of danger is considered the highest throughout the world. What was once Yoido became a nest for the Imperial Wasp. This place was referred to as the Demon Realm of the highest difficulty. Even a top-ranking adventurer found it difficult to take on a single wasp. Therefore, for a smuggler it's impossible. However, according to the old guy, there was a raid that wasn't publicized. The government's army and 7 of Korea's strongest. Even with their overwhelming strength, they failed to eradicate the wasp, but succeeded in hunting down the queen bee. One of the 7 had stolen Imperial Wasp Royal Jelly and had it smuggled by one of his subordinates. Royal Jelly is a nutritional supplement that the wasp feed to the newborn queen. A story goes that if a human eats it, they can rise from the dead. IM asks if he's still thinking about the medicine. He responds those stories are always exaggerated. Although it is an antidote that is second to none, it still wouldn't save his father. If something like that existed, he's sure his father would never have given. The major dungeons in Korea, with Yoido at the center, Mapo, Yeongdeungpo, were all taken over by this dungeon. Most of it remains undiscovered. Many adventurers lose their lives trying to explore it. When arriving at the meeting place, they lost contact. It would be a reasonable thing to believe he ran away, but Jerryong thinks that it's more likely to be an injury or accident. It's a very dangerous journey, so all he has to do is retrieve it. Royal jelly is quite precious, so humans won't be the only one hunting for it. The scent of the jelly is so strong that the entire forest is filled with its scent. Upon arrival, he sees a big footprint. Jin Serum, first year at Warrior High, is facing the greatest threat of her life. It should have been an easy trip for her midterm, but instead what she faced was a monster that shouldn't have been there. She was supposed to collect coins in the dungeon within a given time limit. It was a test to simulate real-life fighting experience. The monsters with the lowest rank possible, that were weak and had low intelligence. She wanted to run from the monster, but she knew as the only thing she could do was pray for a miracle. However, she decided to fight back, but the monster's skin was too thick to penetrate. She had a plan. She baited the monster to lower his guard to use her ultimate skill. She was a class that imbued magic at the arrow tip. They're called a magic ranger. The type of magic imbued in the tip of the arrow was limitless, but she decided to use an explosion of the greatest magnitude that she could handle. It should have been enough to finish the monster. However, it had dodged. At that moment she knew she had messed up. It chased her as she started running. Suddenly the monster was hit by a surprise attack. Even after a direct hit, the monster remained on phase. He takes out an unknown tool from his pocket, and seemingly jumps to face the monster head-on. The girl was sure he was going to be squashed by the monster's fist. He tells her to close her eyes. A bright light covers the monster. That was his last one, a stunning torch. It's a tool made from a figurine fish found deep in the sea. It provides an incapacitation ability at a cheap price. It was loved by many adventurers, but due to the incredible performance and poor usage, several adventurers started to lose their ability. The tool is strictly banned. It gave them a couple seconds to escape. Whatever happens in a dungeon, if an adventurer won't take notice and isn't antagonized, they won't help. It's because there is a high bounty on smugglers, and if you trust too easily you'll be betrayed. He looks behind him and see the girl chasing him. He vanishes from her sight. She stops, confused at how he disappeared. He ambushed her and say she's stupid. He asked what she wants. She said she wishes to thank him. He thinks she's trying to trick him. She says she's well aware that he's a smuggler. She wants to offer him a job. He notices her logo of Warrior High. He sighs and says he won't overlook this a second time. He insults her, and threatens her, as she holds her neck and say the bounty for a smuggler is 5 million won and a poacher is 500 million won. He becomes furious, until she shows him Enkill blood. A person would need to arrest 5 people like him to afford it. It will just be a down payment. After helping her with her midterm, he'll receive the rest. He believes she was just a spoiled brat, but now we see that she's insane. But she doesn't care. She shows him the necklace, saying it will be a chance to change his life. He expected this. There wasn't really a reason to kill her. She's confused by his choice of words. I just stated before he only had a couple of seconds to escape. They dodge and he gives her a steel pipe. He wants her to use the skill that she did earlier, and give it back when finished. However, she is out of mana. He tells her to sort it out, while he fights the Titan bare-handed for as long as he can. She has less than half her mana and very little damage would be done to the Titan. It would be better to run away while he's keeping it occupied, but that's not the kind of person she is. Jeryong expected a better amount. This is less than a quarter that she originally used, however it is enough. Students of Warrior High have heard the saying many times that brute force isn't the only thing needed to defeat a monster. Timing and accuracy are very important. In other words, this is what adventure must tamper with more than anything. In the next scene we see her playing with her friends. Her driver arrives to pick her up. Sarum could have almost whatever she lay her eyes upon. The Jinsung group ranked 4th in Korea. Their successor married an elf, and the result was Jin Sarum. She admired and respected the adventurers. She had always dreamed of being one someday. Her elf blood was very weak, making her closer to human level. Her uncle thought she should do something else. Although it's not necessary for her to have powerful elf genetics. She's only slightly above average compared to normal humans. She's not the type to give up on her own. She's as stubborn as her mother. She's nowhere close to the monster rank humans, but through her hard work she became a decent one. Her skills are enough to get recognition from a regular human, but she was born with many other benefits to make up for her lack of talent, wealth, name and bloodline, but these have made her effort useless. People have laughed at her with envy and later she became completely isolated. Talent doesn't fall out of the sky unless you're Jeryong. He knocks out the Titan. He walks away and glances at her staring. She couldn't believe he was the same age as her. He realized that he had lost the goggles that prevented facial recognition and voice changes. It was quite expensive and he was told not to break it. She asks if he's a sunbae from her school. He threateningly tells her to give him what he promised. He snatches it, analyzing if it's fake. She offers to give him more money since the tuition for an adventure school is very high. He tells her he doesn't attend any adventurer's school. She asks who taught him how to fight. He responds no one. He taught himself, which she sees as complete nonsense. He was too skilled and extraordinary. He flings his identification in her face, showing that he attended a regular humanities school. She gives him her student ID to prove her identity. He takes her student ID as a countermeasure to ensure she doesn't turn her back on him. He takes a picture to prove that they are accomplices because an accomplice gets the same punishment as the smuggler. At that moment she realized she'd gotten involved with someone more dangerous than she thought, but it was too late to turn back now. He asked what she wants to do. He'll do it as long as the price is right. She wants him to collect coins throughout the location. Find a coin box in a certain area within 6 hours. She had 1 coin. She only needed 1 more to pass. Luckily the location was the same place as his destination, however it'll be dangerous for her to go, because of the smell attracting all the monsters. Another route would be more ideal, but that's the only one left. The other parties have taken the rest. Jeryong had an understanding of the situation. It's better for him that way. The prices, she interrupts, 950 million, that's all she has at the moment. That leaves us with one very important question. How rich is this girl? Looks like Jeryong had the same thought as me. The guy almost choked on what he was eating. She offers him more. This high-class man said it's not necessary. Unless there's an emergency, then it'll cost extra. They start running like ninjas. He regrets his actions for not asking for more. She questions if he truly taught himself. He's about to answer when he sees 2 claws raptors. Jeryong has never been given official training as an adventurer. The experience he has have been gained by risking his life. There's only one exception. When he was young he witnessed his father's movements. This allowed him to learn the skill called the needle, using all claws. Raptors are usually in groups at a minimum of 5. This means that there are stronger monsters ahead. He tells her they should take a break. She interrogates him if he was personally trained. He says he just watched someone. Her face became as white as snow. From that moment she was full of jealousy. She tosses him a vial to boost his stamina. He places it in his pocket. You could see her body shake. He said he was going to sell it. It was worth $1,100,000 on the black market. As if it was nothing, she says it's chump change. She thinks he's weird. Very weird. They continue the journey and he thinks rich people are weird. They revise the plan. It's not to hunt any monsters, it's to take what they need and leave. No matter what monsters are inside, she must follow his orders and stay calm. Sarum felt a weird sensation. For half the year, she's been an outsider at the school. It was her first time jumping into danger with a companion. They enter the building and a shiver go up their spine. They could barely believe their eyes. The entrance was covered in corpses. They fearless entered with an overwhelming resolve, but it came crumbling down. When facing such mayhem, none of the monsters are from the area, and they're dangerous to even pro-adventurers. Jeryong says she shouldn't lose her mental state. This was expected even if it's more dangerous than they initially thought. They notice movements in the dark. Jeryong gets into battle position. A slasher lip appeared. Jeryong charged at the monster. It extended its tongue. That would make a cream gobbler flood the house. He swings his iron pipe. The monster wrapped it around its tongue. As if Jeryong was sweets. He lifted him and tried to devour him. Jeryong then lets go of the pipe that left it immobile. He lands in the roof like Spider-Man and gives it a flying kick. It yells in pain. Sarum look at him, feeling like a third wheel. Jeryong decided to keep the monster alive, to serve as a warning signal for anyone approaching. But for who? This guy Yongdawin, who will refer to as Demon Face. The person that caused all the mayhem, and now wants a nap. Jeryong knew he was dangerous. He says they look too young to be smugglers. He noticed her crest and teleported trying to look cool. He succeeded. He says he doesn't know the situation for why a warrior high student would be there. But it's unfortunate that she lived to die. This guy he a no normal adventurer. He came to kill and steal the jelly from Jeryong. Jeryong says how will he handle things if he touches his things without his permission. He responds that's only if he gets caught. And he has very good luck. He overheard his comrades smuggling valuable items. He planned to ambush him and way to his destination, but failed. He had ran away and he tracked him here, but he couldn't find him. So the reason for loss of communication was because of that demon-faced guy. As demon-faced unsheathed his sword, Jeryong felt the overwhelming difference between demon-face and the muscular guy. He tells her to find the coins and leave. She's worried about leaving him, but she wouldn't be able to help. Demon-faced lunged towards him. He blocked and tells her to run. She has to be alive for him to collect his money. Demon-face says they had a better chance of survival if they stuck together. Jeryong knows he's talking nonsense. He read his opponent's sword path, and delivered a kick to his face. He stands saying I underestimated you. I'm surprised you've made me use my equipment. You're better than the average pro. I won't hold back. We see the armor that looks like he's be taken over by a symbiote, or maybe it's Guts armor. Back at IM hideout, he's eating noodles when the old guy starts complaining that he spent a lot of money and pigil. who was arrogantly saying he was an adventurer, yet he couldn't pull his own weight. IM says he didn't lose because he's bad, he lost because he had to. The guy probably trained in hunting and exploration. A human was unfamiliar to him. It's only natural he lost to a smuggler. Although adventurers also fight amongst themselves. As they go up, the value increase, even comrades will stab allies in the back that they depend on. All they have to say is that a monster killed them. The fact that the muscular guy got caught meant that it was a dispute outside the dungeon without equipment. If he had equipment, he probably would have put up a better fight, since equipment make up half of an adventurer's power. Demon Face lunges towards him. Luckily he blocked. Demon Face kicks him and sent him a flying distance away. He teleports in front of him and hit him with a barrage of attacks. Demon's Face jacket consumes the user's blood and support physical abilities and boost defense against physical attacks. That's his berserker style of attacks. There are many openings, but if he does a bad counterattack he will die. He sliced his lower abdomen and says you fell for it. Jeryong knelt down. He removed his jackets, revealing a small cut. He says Demon Face is not as strong as he thought. To only do it so much damage to a high schooler without equipment. This pissed him off. Jeryong knew that Demon Face doesn't have much time. He has to defeat him and silence Serum. When watching the move of his father when he was young, he realized that he could not use his own strength alone. He had to use the enemy's strength against them. The name of the skill that he hadn't even perfected was called Swell. He didn't expect to use that skill. The adventure recovered. Jeryong taunts him, saying he didn't expect a pro adventure to rush in like an animal. He